The courtroom was full. People sat in silence, some whispered. Others just stared straight ahead. The air was thick with tension. This was not a normal day. A murder trial was happening. A serious one. A woman had died. A man was accused. Everyone was waiting for answers. Suddenly, the doors opened. A small boy walked in. He couldn't have been more than 7 years old. His clothes were clean but old. His hair was neatly combed, but his eyes told a different story. Big, tired, and filled with something too heavy for a child. Pain. In his tiny hands, he held a photograph. It was a picture of a woman. She was smiling in the photo, full of life. Some people in the courtroom gasped softly. They recognized her. It was his mother. The boy looked around the room. So many strange faces. So many eyes watching him. But he kept walking, slowly, carefully, until he stood near the witness stand. No one had told the court he would come. Not the lawyers, not the police, not even the judge. For a moment, it was as if time stopped. "Who is this child?" the judge asked, his voice serious but calm. A young woman from the back stood up. She was a social worker. She walked forward and whispered something to the judge. He nodded, his eyes now looking at the boy with more interest, and maybe concern. "Come closer, son," the judge said softly. The boy didn't speak. He just stepped forward and stood by the witness chair. He still held the picture. He didn't cry. He didn't look scared. But something about his silence made the room uneasy. The judge leaned forward. "What is your name?" The boy opened his mouth for the first time. "Arish," he said quietly. "Do you know why you're here, Arish?" He nodded. "To tell the truth." The judge blinked. This child knew something important. The defense lawyer stood up, clearly upset. "Your Honor, this is highly unusual. This boy wasn't called as a witness." The judge raised a hand. "I know, but I want to hear what he has to say." The courtroom stayed silent. Everyone leaned. No one moved. Arish didn't sit down. He looked around once more, then he held up the photo. "This is my mommy," he said. "She used to sing to me every night. She made chocolate pancakes every Sunday. She liked yellow flowers." The judge nodded gently. "And what happened to her, Arish?" The boy's voice became softer. "She went to sleep one night and didn't wake up. But I know who made her sleep forever." Gasps. Real ones. The people in the courtroom couldn't believe what they were hearing. The accused man, a tall, strong figure in a suit, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The boy's eyes met his for a second, and in that moment, everyone could feel something strange, as if the boy knew much more than he should, more than anyone had expected. The judge spoke again, slower this time. "Do you know who that person is, Arish?" But the boy said nothing. Not yet. He looked down at the photo, then at the floor. Then he closed his eyes. The judge waited. Everyone waited. A full minute passed. Still silence. The judge turned to the social worker. "Is he okay?" The woman nodded. "He said he would speak only when he's ready." The judge sighed and leaned back. "Very well. We'll allow him a moment." The boy opened his eyes. He looked back up at the judge. "Can I say something just to her?" he asked, pointing to the photo. The judge seemed unsure, but then he nodded. Arish held the photo close to his chest. He whispered something no one else could hear. Then finally, he turned to the judge again. "I'm ready now." That sentence hit like a wave. The boy's tone had changed. No more fear, no more silence. He was ready to speak. The judge nodded slowly and said, "Then please tell us what happened." And with that, the room held its breath. Everyone, from the jury to the lawyers to the people sitting in the back, waited for a child's voice to bring out a truth no one else could. Whatever he was about to say was going to change everything. The judge looked at the boy again. "Go ahead, Arish. You may speak." The courtroom was silent. Even the sound of breathing seemed to disappear. Arish stood tall for someone so small. He didn't shake. He didn't fumble with words. He just looked straight ahead, at the man sitting on the accused bench. The man was wearing a dark suit. His hair was neat. He looked serious, like someone trying hard to stay calm. But his fingers tapped nervously on the table in front of him. Everyone was watching. And then Arish did something no one expected. He raised his right hand and pointed. "That man," he said. "He was in our house the night my mommy died." Gasps filled the room. Someone in the back dropped a water bottle. A woman whispered, "Oh my God," but quickly covered her mouth. The accused man's eyes widened. For a moment he looked like he had seen a ghost. He turned away from the boy, then back again, trying to stay calm. But his hands had stopped moving. No more tapping. The defense lawyer jumped up. "Objection, Your Honor. This child's words are hearsay. He's under pressure. This isn't reliable testimony." But the judge didn't speak right away. He was still staring at the boy. "Did you see this man inside your house?" the judge asked carefully. Arish nodded. "Yes, he came after dinner. Mommy told me to hide under the table when she saw him." "Did she say why?" "She was scared," Arish said softly. "She told me, 'Don't come out until it's quiet.'" The judge looked troubled. He leaned forward and spoke gently. "And did you see what he did?" Arish hesitated. He looked down at his shoes, then back at the man. "I saw him yelling. I saw him pushing her. She hit her head on the floor." His voice cracked slightly. "She didn't get up." Murmurs started again across the room. Even the jury looked shaken. Some leaned forward, others looked down. The accused man stood up, suddenly slamming both hands on the desk. "This is a lie," he shouted. The judge banged his gavel. "Order, sit down immediately." The man sat, but his face had changed. His calm mask was gone. He was sweating now, angry, nervous. The judge turned to the boy. "Do you know this man's name?" Arish nodded again. "His name is Uncle Fahad. He used to come sometimes, but Mommy didn't like him coming anymore." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Why not?" "Because he wanted her money, and when she said no, he got mad." The defense lawyer stood again. "Your Honor, with all due respect, this child is just repeating things he heard. There is no proof of what he's saying." The judge looked at Arish. "Are you sure about what you saw?" Arish didn't blink. "Yes." "Did anyone tell you to say this?" "No." The judge turned to the prosecutor. "Do you have anything to ask?" The prosecutor, a tall woman in a dark blue suit, stood up slowly. Her voice was calm. "Arish, thank you for being brave today. I only have one question. When you were under the table, could you see everything clearly?" "Yes, the tablecloth was short. I saw through the side." "Did you hear what they were saying?" "Some of it," Arish said. "He said she owed him. She said, 'I don't owe you anything.' Then she told him to leave." "And what happened next?" Arish swallowed hard. "He pushed her. She hit the side of the table, then the floor." "Did he leave after that?" "No." He looked scared. He took her phone and left fast. The courtroom was dead silent. Even the judge looked like he needed a moment to process what he had just heard. Then, suddenly, the prosecutor turned to the judge. "Your Honor, we request to review the emergency call logs made from the victim's phone that night. If this child's story is true, the phone records might confirm someone else used it after she fell." The judge nodded. "Request granted. Court is adjourned until further notice." The gavel came down with a sharp sound. People started whispering again, but Arish stood there quietly, still holding his mother's photo. He didn't cry. He didn't smile. He just looked at the man across the room, and the man couldn't look back. Because now, everyone in that courtroom was thinking the same thing. What if the boy is right? The next day, the courtroom was packed again. People were talking in low voices. The media had started to arrive. Cameras were outside. Reporters whispered questions. But inside the courtroom, everything was quiet once more. Everyone was waiting for the boy. Arish walked in slowly, holding the same photo of his mother. He wore the same quiet face. No fear, no tears, just calm. Beside him walked the social worker, her hand gently on his back. He looked like he had not slept. but he looked. "Ready?" The judge entered. He glanced at the boy, then at the accused man, Uncle Fahad, who now looked pale and tired. His lawyer sat close beside him, whispering often. The judge began, "Yesterday, the court heard powerful words from young Arish. Today, we'll continue." The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, we've reviewed the phone logs. A call was made from the victim's phone, 1 hour after her estimated time of death." Gasps again. People leaned forward. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Do you know who made the call?" The prosecutor nodded. "It wasn't the victim, but the call was made to someone in this courtroom." Whispers filled the air. The judge banged his gavel once. "Silence!" The prosecutor turned. "It was made to the number of Mr. Fahad." All eyes turned to the man. He froze. His lawyer tried to speak, but the judge raised his hand. "Mr. Fahad, is this true?" He stood slowly. His voice was shaky. It could be. She called me sometimes. Maybe it was earlier in the evening, but..." Before he could finish, a small voice spoke. "No, she didn't call him. It was Arish." Everyone turned toward the boy again. The judge nodded. "Please, go on, Arish." The boy stepped closer to the microphone. His voice was steady. She couldn't call him. She was already on the floor, not moving. "Then how do you know the phone was used?" The boy looked down. "Because I saw him. I saw Uncle Fahad pick up her phone and put it in his coat. Then he left." The courtroom held its breath. The prosecutor asked gently, "Did he say anything before he left?" Arish nodded. "He said something strange. He looked at Mommy and said, 'It didn't have to be like this, Sabiha.'" Sabiha. That was her name. The room reacted again. It wasn't just what he said. It was that Arish remembered something no one had told him to say. The social worker stepped forward. "Your Honor, no one coached this child. He wasn't told his mother's name would be brought up in court. He remembered that moment by himself." The judge looked stunned for a moment. "This detail was never mentioned in the police report?" "No," said the prosecutor. "This is new." The judge turned to Arish. "How do you remember all this?" Arish looked at his mother's photo, then at the judge. "I don't want to forget," he whispered, "because if I forget, then it's like she's gone forever." His words made even the hardest hearts in the courtroom soften. But then the defense lawyer stood. He looked angry. "Your Honor, this boy is under emotional stress. He's grieving. Children imagine things. He could have heard someone say this after the incident. Maybe even a police officer or a neighbor." "He didn't," the prosecutor cut in. "This phrase was never shared publicly. No one else knew what the suspect said, except Arish." The judge leaned back in his chair. His face looked tired now. Tired but focused. Then something unexpected happened. Mr. Fahad stood up. His hands were trembling. He looked at Arish, then at the photo in the boy's hands. "She was my sister," he said quietly. Silence. "I didn't mean to." His voice cracked. "I just wanted her to help me with money. She kept saying no. She pushed me first. I pushed back. I didn't know she'd..." The room exploded in noise. People shouted. Some cried. Others just stared in shock. The judge slammed his gavel again and again. "Order! Order!" But the truth had come out. He had said it, not a full confession, but close enough. The judge ordered Mr. Fahad to be taken into custody. The bailiff stepped in immediately. His lawyer tried to stop him, but it was too late. Arish watched it all. He didn't smile. He didn't cry. He just stood there holding his mother's photo. The judge looked at him one last time before calling, "For a short break? You may sit down now, Arish. You've done more than anyone expected." As the boy walked back to his seat, the whole courtroom seemed to move with him. He had said something no one else could. He had remembered what no one told him to say, and because of that, the case was no longer about guessing what happened. Now, it was about facing what did. The courtroom remained silent even after the confession. No one moved. No one spoke. Every eye stayed on the little boy who had just helped break the case open. But Arish wasn't done. He sat back in the chair beside the social worker, his small hands shaking just a little. The picture of his mother rested on his lap. Then, slowly, he reached into his coat pocket, The judge, watching from the bench, leaned forward. So did the lawyers. Even the jurors turned their heads slightly. What was he holding? What else could this child have? From his pocket, Arish pulled out something small, wrapped in a tissue. His fingers were gentle as he opened it. Inside was a small silver necklace. It sparkled under the courtroom lights, though one side looked broken, like it had been snapped. Arish stood again and walked toward the judge. "I want to give this," he said, holding up the necklace, "because it was in Mommy's hand when I found her. I didn't tell anyone before. I thought it was all I had left of her." The room grew even quieter. "You're sure she was holding it?" the judge asked. "Yes," Arish said. "It was tight in her fingers. I had to pull it out." The prosecutor stood surprised. "May I see it?" The judge nodded, and Arish gently handed it over. The prosecutor put on gloves and opened the necklace fully. A part of it was stained, as if it had been torn during a struggle. "This could be evidence," she said. "It might have the suspect's fingerprints or DNA." The defense lawyer stood up in panic. "Your Honor, this is new. This is improper handling of material evidence." The judge raised his hand again. "Enough. This is a serious detail, and this child brought it forward himself, without being asked." The necklace was bagged carefully and taken for analysis. But the moment had already struck the hearts of those watching. Arish had carried the last clue, not because he wanted to win, but because he wanted the truth. The social worker whispered something to him, but Arish shook his head and looked straight at the judge again. "There's more," he said. The judge's eyebrows lifted slightly. "More?" Arish nodded. The night she didn't wake up, she gave me her phone, before she saw Uncle Fahad." The prosecutor's eyes widened. "She gave you her phone?" Arish reached into his coat again and pulled out something else, a small, old phone, scratched, screen slightly cracked. "I didn't know the password before," Arish said, "but it opened when I put my thumb on it. I think Mommy made it work with my finger, just in case." The prosecutor rushed forward and carefully took the phone. She handed it to her tech assistant sitting nearby. The assistant tapped quickly. Few seconds passed. Then she looked up. "There's a voice memo," she said, "recorded on the night of the incident." The entire courtroom froze. The judge sat up straighter. "Play it." The assistant connected it to a speaker. And then, a woman's voice filled the courtroom. It was soft but serious. "If something happens to me tonight," the voice said, "know that it was Fahad. He came again. He's been angry for days. I don't feel safe anymore." Gasps rang out again. Some people covered their mouths. Others had tears in their eyes. Arish lowered his head. That voice. It was hers. The last thing she ever said. The memo ended after just a few seconds. But the effect was massive. The judge turned slowly to the accused man, Fahad, now sitting with his face in his hands. "I think we've heard enough for now," the judge said. The prosecutor stood, her voice heavy. "We request full charges be upgraded to premeditated murder, Your Honor. The victim feared for her life, and now we have proof she tried to warn us." The judge nodded slowly. Motion accepted. Fahad said nothing. He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He just sat there. Still, the boy had said almost nothing at first, but now his words and his actions had changed the entire case. As court adjourned for the day, people began to leave in silence. But no one forgot the image they saw. A small boy, handing over the necklace from his pocket. And behind him, a photo of a smiling woman, his mother still resting in the chair. The courtroom was quiet again the next morning. The judge sat with a heavy expression. The prosecutor was calm but alert. Even the defense lawyer looked defeated. He shuffled through papers knowing things had changed. Everyone believed the case was almost over. The voice memo, the necklace, the confession. But no one expected what would happen next. As the judge prepared to move forward with charges, a small voice spoke from the side of the room. "Your Honor," said Arish, "can I say something again?" Heads turned. The judge blinked, surprised. "You may sit down, son." You've already helped more than we imagined. But Arish shook his head. There's one more thing. The judge nodded slowly. Come forward, the social worker whispered to him, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. Are you sure? Yes, Arish said. I need to say it. He stood up, walked to the front again and faced the judge, his mother's picture still in his hands. The courtroom leaned in. I know you think I said everything, he began. And I told the truth. But last night, when I was trying to sleep, I remembered something. The judge leaned closer. What did you remember, Arish? There was another voice that night. The room shifted. Everyone held their breath. What do you mean? The prosecutor asked. I mean, there was someone else, another man. I didn't see his face, but he came after Uncle Fahad left. The room fell completely silent again. No one moved. The judge's voice was firm, but gentle. Arish, are you saying someone else came into the house that night? Arish nodded. Yes, I heard the door. I heard footsteps. I stayed under the table. I thought Mommy was still asleep. But then the man came close. He said something. What did he say? Asked the prosecutor. He said, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. You were supposed to agree. Now it's messy. Gasps again. The judge sat back, stunned. This doesn't match the previous timeline. The defense lawyer stood. Your Honor, if another man was involved, then we need to investigate further. My client may not be solely responsible. The judge banged, his gavel for silence. Arish, do you remember anything else about that voice? The prosecutor asked. It was deep, Arish said. And he had an accent, not like Uncle Fahad. The social worker added gently, Arish, why didn't you mention this before? I forgot, he said. I was scared. I thought maybe it was a dream. But now I know it wasn't. The prosecutor turned to the judge. This could mean the murder wasn't an accident. It could be part of something bigger. The judge looked serious. We'll reopen the scene for investigation. The truth may be more complicated than we thought. Arish stepped back, holding his picture tightly. He had remembered something no one else knew. Again. And now, things had changed. Outside the courtroom later that day, reporters filled the steps. The news was everywhere. Child witness turns case again. Second suspect may exist. New voice heard in murder case. Young boy remembers everything. Justice for Sabiha still unfolding. Inside, the judge ordered that the house be searched again, and there, under the rug, near the table where Arish had hidden the eye, police found something small, a cufflink silver. With initials MH, it didn't belong to Fahad. The prosecutor looked at the evidence and whispered, "This is bigger than we thought." She looked back at Arish, now sitting quietly on a bench, head down, eyes tired. But the boy had done something few adults could. He told the truth, even when it hurt, even when it was scary. And now, a new mystery had opened. As the court prepared for the next hearing, the judge made a public note. Let it be known that this child's courage has uncovered more than just a crime. He reminded us why justice matters, and why listening can save lives. 2 days had passed since Arish revealed there might be a second man involved. The courtroom had grown quieter, but the tension was stronger than ever. Police were now investigating again. The house was searched a second time. They had found the silver cufflink, initials MH, and fingerprints that didn't belong to Fahad. Fahad was still in custody, but even his lawyer now believed he hadn't acted alone. The judge called for one final witness before the weekend, but no one expected Arish to stand up again. He raised his hand slowly from the back row. The judge looked surprised. Yes, Arish? The boy stood up, his voice was low. I want to say something, one last thing. The social worker gently leaned toward him. You don't have to go up there again, sweetheart. I know, Arish said. But I have to, he walked up slowly. Everyone stared. The media had returned. Reporters were writing every word. The prosecutor spoke softly. What do you want to tell us, Arish? The boy took a deep breath. Then he turned, and pointed to a man sitting at the back of the courtroom. "That's him," he said. "That's the man who came to our house after Uncle Fahad left." Gasps. People turned in shock. The man was wearing a dark suit and glasses. He had been quiet the whole time, sitting like any other observer. No one had noticed him. Now all eyes were on him. "Who are you, sir?" the judge demanded. The man stood up slowly, his face pale. I'm with the victim's company. I worked with Sabiha. I just came to support." The prosecutor narrowed her eyes. "Your name?" He hesitated. "Murad Hussein." For the initials on the cufflink, the courtroom froze. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Murad, were you ever at the victim's home?" "No, never. This is ridiculous." But Arish stepped forward again, voice steady. "You said the words. That night, I remember. You were supposed to agree. That's what you said, it was you." Murad's face went red. "He's lying. He's a child." "He's a child," the judge said slowly, "who remembered every single detail. Ones even the police missed. And now he's identified you, the same initials found on a cufflink left at the scene." Murad tried to walk out, but two officers were already moving toward him. He panicked. Wait, I didn't kill her. I only went to talk." "After she was already hurt?" the prosecutor asked coldly. Murad's voice broke. "She had promised to sign the deal. She was going to sell her shares. I needed them. My investors?" The judge banged his gavel. "Enough." But the truth was spilling. "Fast, she changed her mind," Murad said. "I begged her to agree. I didn't know she was already hurt. I didn't touch her. But when I saw her on the floor, I panicked. I left." "You didn't call anyone," the prosecutor said. Murad said nothing. "You left a child in the house, alone. And you let everyone believe it was one person's fault." Murad sat down. He was silent now. The court was still. Everyone turned back to Arish. His little hands were shaking now, but his face was calm. "Why did you point him out now?" the judge asked gently. "Because I couldn't sleep," Arish said. "Every night I hear her voice, I see her picture. I remember everything. And today, when I saw him again, I just knew." The social worker came and hugged him from the side. The judge looked at the room and spoke slowly. "This court recognizes the courage of this child. Not only did he help uncover the first suspect, but he brought to light a second man who had stayed hidden. His memory, his truth, has changed everything." Murad Hussein was taken into custody immediately. A full investigation was ordered. The case was reopened to include business fraud and corporate pressure. More names would come out in the days ahead. But for now, the courtroom stood and applauded. Not because the case was over, not because justice was complete, but because a little boy had done something few could do. He faced the people who ruined his world, and spoke the truth anyway. As the cameras flashed, Arish was escorted out by the social worker, and once again, he held his mother's picture close to his chest. The final day of the trial arrived. The courtroom was filled. Not a single seat was empty. Reporters, lawyers, families, strangers who had followed every detail of the case. Even other judges had come to witness the ending. But all eyes were on one small figure walking in. Arish. He walked beside his social worker, holding his mother's picture close, just like always. His clothes were neat, his steps slow, but confident. No one whispered. No one dared to speak over the boy who had changed everything. Fahad had already confessed. Murad Hussein had been arrested. New charges were filed. New evidence was confirmed. But now it was time for the judge to give the final words and to speak directly to the boy who helped bring justice. The judge, an older man with strong eyes and a tired face, stood up slowly. The room became completely silent. He cleared his throat, but his voice cracked just a little. "I have served as a judge for over 20 years, he said. "I have seen hundreds of cases, thousands of people, some guilty, some innocent." He looked down at his notes and then looked straight at Arish. "But I have never in my entire life seen such bravery from someone so young." Arish looked up at him. His small hands gripped the frame of his mother's picture tightly. "You could have stayed silent," the judge continued. "You could have stayed in fear, and no one would have blamed you. But you chose truth." He paused. His voice was quiet, now almost trembling. "You reminded all of us what justice really means, not papers, not arguments, but truth told with courage." The courtroom remained still. Even the defense attorney lowered his head. The judge took a breath, then walked down from his seat, something he almost never did. He stepped close to Arish. The bailiffs didn't stop him. No one did. He stood in front of the boy, eyes soft, voice full of emotion. "Your mother would be proud," he said. "And I'm proud. This entire court is proud." Arish's eyes filled with tears, but he held them back. The judge then did something no one expected. He removed his own judge's pin, the small golden emblem on his coat, and placed it gently in Arish's hand. "You are the bravest witness I've ever seen," he whispered. "Keep this to remind you that you brought justice." People began to cry silently in the courtroom. Reporters didn't take pictures. Out of respect, they just watched. Outside, news spread fast. Judge honors young boy with symbol of justice. Arish, age 9, becomes voice for truth in historic court case. From pain to power, a child's journey through darkness. The judge returned to his seat, and he made the final ruling. Fahad is found guilty of second-degree murder. Murad Hussein is charged with conspiracy, evidence tampering, and negligence. Both will face full sentencing under the law. He looked once more at Arish. "And let the record show," he said. "This trial would not have reached the truth without the voice of a little boy who refused to forget." The gavel fell. Court was adjourned, but the impact would last forever. After the trial, Arish was offered therapy, care, a new place to live with relatives who loved him. But what he asked for first surprised everyone. He didn't want gifts, he didn't want toys, he just said softly, "Can I visit Mommy's favorite park?" They took him there that very evening. He sat under the old tree where she used to take him. He placed the judge's pin next to a small candle and whispered, "I did it, Mama. I told the truth. Just like you said I should." The wind moved through the trees gently, as if she was there smiling. And somewhere in the world, someone watching the news realized that even the smallest voice can shake the walls of power, and even a courtroom can fall silent. When the truth is spoken by the one no one expected,